Are you coming to Bonaire to shore dive? Do you want to know 5 tips for diving with a snorkeler? Well, that's what we're talking about in this video.
And we're doing it right now.
Hi everybody, Liz here on beautiful Bonaire, and I'm here to share with you 5 tips on how to dive with a snorkeler. On our most recent trip, we had our friend Kristen with us, who's a snorkeler. We made a video about it, and it's linked right here. We learned a few things on this trip that we wanted to share with you, so now we're going to share 5 tips for diving with a snorkeler. Tip number 1, research ahead of time the different sites to see what's good for both divers and snorkelers. There are a ton of dive sites on Bonaire, and some are really good for snorkelers, and some maybe aren't so great. So what we did was we used these 2 books, the Bonaire Shore Diving Made Easy and the Reef Smart Guide to Bonaire. We've talked about these before. These are really useful for describing the dive sites and what to expect. And they also have in there which sites are really good snorkeling sites versus some that may not be. So we would like to research these ahead of time and see which sites we want to visit so that we have a good plan going into it and we make sure everybody's getting the best out of their dive. Tip number 2. As scuba divers, we learn some important communication signs underwater, such as okay, I'm out of air, things like that. It's also really good to be able to teach that to the snorkelers as well, so that you can communicate when they're on the surface and you're underwater. A couple of the ones that we talked about were the OK signal to make sure everybody's good when they're descending or ascending. Some of the fish signs, so if you're, as a diver, you're noticing there's a trumpet fish or something like that, you can signal up to your snorkeler and point it out to them, or they can do the reverse. They've got a bigger view, they can maybe point something out that they see. And then we just do kind of the general bye or everything's good or something like that when we're descending and ascending, so that we're in contact with each other all the time and can understand each other when we're communicating. Tip number 3, assess the sites to make sure it's appropriate for both snorkelers and scuba divers before you get in the water. We found it was really important to do that. We went to a site that was down south that ended up being really choppy. We had planned on diving and snorkeling that site, but once we got out and looked at the lay of the land, it just didn't look like it was going to be a fun trip for Kristen. Super wavy, things like that. So the benefits of Bonaire, you can always go to another dive site. So we got in the truck, we went down the shore, and then we found another site that looked like it was calmer and better for a snorkeler, so that we could then dive it together. Tip number 4, communicate when you expect to be back in the area so that your snorkeler knows when and where to meet you. This worked out really well on this trip. We would let Kristen know, hey, it'll be about 45 to 50 minutes before we're back in the shallows to do our safety stop and kind of tool around to see what else is down here. It was great. She could meet us there, and then we could communicate up to the surface, point out other things that she may see or that we may see before we actually went in. Tip number 5, make sure that your snorkeler has access to the keys to the car or the truck. If for whatever reason they need to end their snorkel early, say they're tired, they have some sort of gear issue, anything like that, you want to make sure that they have access and they can get in the car and truck if needed.
Well, hey folks, those are 5 tips for diving when you have snorkels with us. We sure hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate that. And hey, we'd love to have you join our community by taking a giant stride on that subscribe button. Then make sure you hit that notification bell too, so you'll be made aware when we have new content for you to enjoy. Well folks, that's it. We hope you enjoyed the video once again. Thanks so much for watching. But for now, we're going to gear up, get in, and we'll see you at the next dive site.